I'm Ava, 30 years old, and I can still feel the sting of that chilly November evening in our small Kentucky town, the kind where the wind rattles the windows and the streetlights glow through the bare trees. I was in my apartment, the kitchen lit by a single bulb, when I noticed my savings account was $2,000 lighter than it should have been. My ex, Connor, had been dipping into my money, thinking I wouldn't catch him. The betrayal hit me like a punch, but what I did, trapping him with proof, calm and legal, made sure he paid for it. This is my story of hurt, anger, and getting even, told straight from my heart, right here in front of you. Connor and I met 3 years ago at a local diner in Bardstown, Kentucky. It was a warm June morning, the air thick with the smell of coffee and biscuits. The jukebox playing some old country tune. I was at the counter, sketching designs for my freelance graphic art gigs, when he slid into the seat next to me. He was 32, with dark hair and a charming grin. A carpenter who talked about building furniture with his hands. I'm a creative type, always juggling art projects, and his stories of crafting tables and chairs pulled me in. We started dating, spending evenings at the distillery down the road, sipping bourbon and planning a future. I thought he was steady, someone I could trust. We moved in together last winter, into my apartment, a cozy place with hardwood floors and a view of Bardstown's quiet streets, where the bourbon barrels stack high in the distance. I'd been saving for years, putting away every extra dollar from my design work into a savings account for a down payment on a house. Connor knew about it. I'd shown him the balance once, proud of hitting $10,000. He'd nod, smile, say, "That's our future, Ava." I gave him access to my laptop for job applications, since he was between carpentry gigs, and I trusted him completely. We'd cook dinner together, the kitchen warm with the smell of garlic, and I'd fall asleep thinking we were building something real. But by last summer, things started to shift. Connor got secretive, always on his phone, hiding the screen when I walked by. He'd say he was networking for work, but he was home more than not, claiming jobs fell through. I noticed small things. My coffee tin lighter than usual. A few 20s missing from my wallet. I'd ask, and he'd laugh it off. "You're imagining things, Ava. I'm not that guy." But doubt crept in, like the November wind sneaking through the window cracks. Then, one night, I got my proof. I was checking my bank account on my laptop, the kitchen bulb flickering, when I saw it. $2,000 gone, withdrawn in small chunks over weeks. My heart stopped. I dug deeper, pulling up transaction logs. Transfers to Connor's PayPal, linked to my account without my permission. I sat there, the apartment dark except for the kitchen's glow, the wind howling outside. My hands shook as I screenshotted the transactions, each one a stab of betrayal. Connor was asleep in the bedroom, his snores soft through the wall, but I felt like I didn't know him anymore. He'd been stealing from me, from our future, while smiling to my face. I checked his PayPal on my laptop. He hadn't logged out. The money went to bar tabs, video games, even a new jacket. I felt sick, the hurt turning to anger, sharp and hot. He thought he could take my savings, my trust, and keep living in my apartment like nothing was wrong. I wasn't going to let him. I didn't confront him right away. I needed a plan, something that'd hold up, something legal. The next morning, I went to the diner. The windows steamed from the cold, and called my friend Leah, a bookkeeper who'd helped me with taxes before. We met over coffee, the jukebox humming in the background. I showed her the screenshots, my voice shaking. "He's stealing from me, Leah. Can I prove it?" She nodded, sipping her coffee. "Those transactions are proof, especially since it's your account. You can report it to the bank, maybe the police, but keep records of everything." She helped me download my bank statements, highlighting Connor's transfers. I also found emails on his account, messages to a buddy about borrowing from me, laughing like it was a game. Each word fueled my anger. But I stayed calm, planning my next move. Back home, the wind rattling the windows, I set up a trap. I knew Connor used my laptop to check his PayPal, so I installed a keylogger. Legal, since it was my device, as Leah confirmed. I wanted to catch him in the act, see if he'd try to take more. I also called my bank, quietly adding a transaction alert to my account, so I'd know if he touched it again. That night, Connor came home, his boots tracking mud on the hardwood, and acted normal, kissing my cheek like he hadn't stolen $2,000. I smiled, my stomach twisting, and said, "Good day." He nodded, oblivious, and I knew I had him. I'd wait for the keylogger or bank alert to give me more proof, then turn it all over to the bank, or the police if I had to. He thought he was clever, but I was building a cage of evidence, steady and sharp. I sat in the kitchen that night, the bulb casting shadows, the wind louder now. Part of me wanted to scream at him, throw his stuff out, but that wouldn't hit him where it hurt. I wanted him to face consequences, to know he couldn't steal from me and walk away. I checked the keylogger. No activity yet, but the trap was set. I went to bed, the apartment cold, the bourbon barrels looming in the distance, and felt a spark of control. Connor thought he could keep taking, keep lying. I was about to show him what happens when you betray someone who's paying attention. And that November week in Bardstown, Kentucky, felt like I was holding my breath, waiting for the trap to spring. The wind howled outside my apartment, rattling the windows, the bourbon barrels looming like shadows in the distance. I'd set up a keylogger on my laptop to catch Connor stealing more from my savings, and my bank alerts were ready to ping if he touched my account again. He thought he could keep taking my money, my trust, while playing the charming carpenter in our small town. But I had proof, screenshots, emails, and soon more, and I was ready to make him face the consequences. Legally, in a way that'd hit him where it hurt. This is how I got my justice, steady and sharp, and took back my life. The morning after I set the trap, I woke to a bank alert on my phone, the screen glowing in the dim kitchen. Another $200 gone, transferred to Connor's PayPal at 2 a.m. My heart raced, but I stayed calm, checking the keylogger. There it was, his login, his password, typed while I slept. I saved the data, my hands steady despite the anger burning in my chest. Connor was still in bed, his snores soft through the wall, oblivious to the cage closing around him. I sat at the kitchen table, the single bulb casting shadows, and added the new transaction to my folder of proof. Screenshots, bank statements, his emails joking about borrowing from me. The wind outside was relentless, like it was cheering me on. I called Leah again, meeting her at the diner. The windows steamed from the November chill, the smell of coffee and grease grounding me. I showed her the keylogger data, the bank alert. "He's still stealing," I said, my voice low. She nodded, her eyes sharp. "Report it to the bank now. They can freeze the transfers, maybe recover the money. And if he keeps going, the police can step in." She helped me draft a report for the bank, attaching the screenshots and keylogger evidence. All legal since it was my laptop, my account. I sent it from the diner, my coffee cooling, the jukebox humming a sad country tune. The bank replied within hours, confirming they'd frozen the linked PayPal account and were investigating. I felt a spark of control, like I was finally holding the reins. Back home, Connor was acting normal, whistling as he made coffee, his boots still muddy from the night before. I watched him, my stomach twisting, and said, "You sleep okay?" He grinned oblivious, like a rock. I nodded, hiding my anger behind a smile. That evening, my phone pinged again, a bank alert. He'd tried another transfer, $300 this time, but it failed, blocked by the bank's freeze. The keylogger caught him again, typing furiously. probably panicking when the transaction didn't go through. I saved it all, my hands steady now, and emailed the bank an update. They suggested I file a police report for theft, so I called Leah's cousin, Mike, a cop in Bardstown. We met at the station, the air cold, the bourbon distillery scent faint in the wind. I showed him everything, screenshots, keylogger logs, bank statements. "This is solid," he said. "We can charge him with theft if the bank confirms fraud." I nodded, my throat tight, picturing Connor's grin fading. The next day, Connor came home early, his face pale, his jacket slung over his shoulder. The apartment was dark, the kitchen bulb flickering, the wind quieter now. "Something's wrong with my PayPal," he said, his voice tight, pacing the hardwood. "Money's not going through." I sat on the couch, sketching on my tablet, and looked up, calm as I could manage. "That's weird," I said. "Maybe check with the bank." He stared at me, his eyes searching, like he sensed I knew something. "You didn't mess with anything, did you, Ava?" I met his gaze, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Why would I? You're the one handling money, right?" He didn't answer, just grabbed his phone and stepped outside, the door clicking shut. The town started talking. I went to the diner the next morning, the windows still steamed, and heard whispers. Friends, neighbors, even the barista mentioning Connor's money troubles. Leah texted me, "Bank called the police. They're looking at him." I sat in the diner, stirring my coffee, the mug warm in my hands, and felt the anger shift to something else. Determination, maybe even satisfaction. Connor's lies were unraveling, and I hadn't needed to confront him. The proof was doing the work, legal and quiet, spreading through Bardstown like the wind through the bourbon barrels. 2 days later, Mike called. The bank had traced the $2,200 to Connor's PayPal, and with my evidence, they'd issued a refund to my account. The police were ready to charge him with theft, a misdemeanor, but enough to sting. I went to the station, the November air biting, and signed a statement, my hands steady now. Mike said Connor was coming in for questioning that afternoon. I drove home, the distillery stacks looming, and waited. Connor came back at dusk, his face grey, his boots heavy on the floor. "Ava," he said, his voice low. "The police called me in. Someone reported me for stealing." I set my tablet down, meeting his eyes. "Stealing's a big word, Connor. Maybe it's just the truth catching up." He froze, his jaw tight, and didn't say another word. He grabbed his bag and left, the door slamming, the wind carrying the sound away. I went to the distillery that weekend, the air crisp, the bourbon barrels glowing under the streetlights. Friends rallied around me, buying me drinks, laughing about Connor's fall. "Heard he's moving to Louisville," the bartender said. "Good riddance." I smiled, sipping my bourbon, the warmth spreading through me. The town knew, neighbors, co-workers, even the diner crowd, Connor had stolen, and his charm couldn't save him. My savings were back, my account secure, and I felt whole again. I wasn't proud of trapping him, but I didn't regret it. He thought he could take my money, my trust, and keep smiling. I showed him actions have consequences. And I did it my way, legal, calm, and sharp. I'm 30 now, still in my cozy apartment, still sketching designs in Bardstown, where the wind blows and the bourbon ages. If someone betrays you, don't let them rewrite your story. Fight back with the truth, steady and smart. Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.